Mr. Watson's Map World. Today we're going to be looking at the countries and capital cities of North America. First, I'd just like to say that Greenland is part of North America, and it technically belongs to the country of Denmark, which is the capital of Denmark, which I was fortunate enough to visit a couple of years ago, is Copenhagen. Although the capital of Denmark itself is Nuuk, formerly known as Godthab. So, moving back to the main part of North America, we start with the three major countries of North America, which, of course, in the north is Canada, and the capital lies between Montreal and Toronto, two of its most important cities, right on the border between the province of Quebec, which I got to visit this summer, Quebec City and Montreal, and the province of Ontario. And the capital of Canada is Ottawa, which I unfortunately did not get to visit. And Ottawa is on the Ottawa River. Some people assume that Ottawa is on the St. Lawrence, but it is not on the St. Lawrence like Montreal is. Next, the country with by far the most people in North America, that is the United States. And of course, the capital of the United States is Washington, which is in the District of Columbia. So that's why we call it Washington, D.C. And you can see the outline here of the District of Columbia, which is directly between the states Virginia and Maryland. This is Virginia across the Potomac River. There's Arlington National Cemetery and the memorials. And here is the Potomac, and across there's the White House and the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. And beyond to the north, really to the north and the northeast and the southeast, is the state of Virginia. And over to the west, so the state of Maryland, and the west is the state of Virginia. To the south, we have Mexico, and by far the largest city in Mexico, which I was fortunate to visit in college, is Mexico City, or Ciudad de Mexico. And that is in the DF, or Distrito Federal. As you can see the outline here, one of the largest cities in the world, and the largest city in North America. Historically, it lay on an island surrounded by Lake Texcoco, and it is well worth a visit if you get the chance. And while you're there, my favorite place was to visit Chapultepec. There it is. Chapultepec Castle. So those are our three main countries in North America that everyone knows. Let's move into Central America, Middle America, I should say. And we will see Guatemala, just to the southeast of the Chiapas state of Mexico. And Guatemala's capital is Guatemala, or Ciudad de Guatemala, which is up here at a relatively high elevation. So it's not particularly hot there in the capital city. To the east is the country of Honduras and Tegucigalpa, which is also pretty high up in elevation and not particularly warm. I mean, it is not cold, but it's certainly not hot, we'll say. A much warmer city, the capital of the only country in Central America that is only on the Pacific, is El Salvador. And the capital of El Salvador is San Salvador. And you'll notice volcanoes just to the west of the capital city of San Salvador. And there are other volcanoes in El Salvador as well, such as Santa Ana. To the north, often overlooked, is the small country of Belize. And the capital of Belize is Belmopan. You might think it's Belize City, but no, the capital is Belmopan. Right here. Moving south, we have the country of Nicaragua. And the capital of Nicaragua is Managua. Which is right on this lake, Lago Zolotlan. Managua, Nicaragua. I was fortunate to go, by the way, to Honduras this fall, but I just went to the island of Roatan and took a little tour, but it was very exciting taking this tour and seeing the mixture of English and Spanish cultures on the island of Roatan. At least in this part of the island I got to visit the western section here. To the south, we have two countries that are typically considered wealthier than some of the ones we just mentioned, and they are Costa Rica and Panama. And the capital of Costa Rica is San Jose, another of these Central American capital cities that is up at elevation and is very green and beautiful and peaceful. Overall, is San Jose. I have not yet gotten to Costa Rica, but it's certainly on my list, and I will be traveling there soon, I believe. And to the east, the final country of Central America and North America in the Middle America is Panama. And of course, the capital is Panama City. By the way, Panama used to belong to Colombia. And we can see here the famous Panama Canal built by the United States and, of course, many, many Caribbean workers around 110 years ago now. And there's the Gatun Lake and the Gatun Locks and Colon, which means Christopher Columbus, basically here. Cristobal and Colon in Spanish. And there's the famous Culebra Cut through the mountains, leading to essentially Panama City. Very interesting mixture of culture in Panama and many types of people coming from many different places. Now we turn our attention to the north, to the Caribbean. First country, which is so close to Florida that you can see it from West Palm Beach quite easily, is the Bahamas. And of course, the Bahamas, the capital is not on one of the larger islands. It is on the island of New Providence, and that is Nassau, the Bahamas. The capital of the Bahamas, quite crowded island there. Moving to the south, we'll start with the major countries of the Caribbean. We have the largest country of the Caribbean, and that is Cuba, and the capital city of Havana. Havana and Cuba is only about 90 or 100 miles from Key West in Florida. Now we'll be focusing on the countries of the Caribbean, not islands like the Cayman Islands or things that are not countries like Montserrat. We'll just be mentioning the actual countries of the Caribbean. So the next country, of course, is Jamaica. And Jamaica's capital is Kingston. A major hurricane went through the west side of the island. Fortunately, I believe Kingston was spared for the most part. To the east, we have the country of Haiti, unfortunately, poverty stricken and frequently with hurricanes or earthquakes. Port-au-Prince is the capital of Haiti. On the other side of the island of Hispaniola is the Dominican Republic, and the Dominican Republic's capital is Santo Domingo. To the east, we see the island of Puerto Rico, where I was fortunate to go. Of course, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, but its capital is San Juan. So those are the major countries of the Caribbean. Now we'll move to the east, and we pass by some countries that are not, some islands that are not countries officially, or independent countries, like the British Virgin Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands and St. Martin. And we get to the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. And its capital of Basseterre. Passing by Montserrat and St. John's, we have the country of Antigua and Barbuda. So this is Antigua and Barbuda. And almost everyone, not almost everyone, but the vast majority of people are living on the island of Antigua, and its capital is St. John's. Moving south, we see this very interesting and memorable outline of the island of Guadeloupe. Of course, Guadeloupe belongs to France. Moving further south, we have the country of Dominica. And Dominica's capital is Rousseau. Very mountainous country island is Dominica. Very rugged in the central part. So the vast majority of the people are living along the coastline, and it's not particularly easy to get around, but a true Caribbean experience if you visit Dominica. The south, we have Martinique, which still belongs to France. Continuing south, we have St. Lucia. St. Lucia is also quite mountainous and extremely forested. And here's its capital, Castries. To the south, we have the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And very similarly to Jamaica, except for with one letter difference, its capital is Kingstown, not Kingston, but Kingstown. Finally, there's the Grenadines. Finally, further south, we have the island of Grenada and its capital, St. George's. Moving much further to the south, very close to the border, to the coastline here of Venezuela, we have Trinidad and Tobago, the main island being Trinidad, where the vast majority of people live, and there's the island of Tobago. And the capital of Trinidad and Tobago is Port of Spain. Very interesting country with interesting mixture of cultures there in Trinidad and Tobago. And you can see how just incredibly close it is to Venezuela here, both here and here. By the way, we'll just mention the islands of the ABC islands of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, which are connected with the Netherlands to an extent, and they are also extremely close to Venezuela. And finally, to the east, we have Barbados and its capital of Bridgetown. And Bridgetown and Barbados lies further to the east of what we call the Lesser Antilles here. And so it's slightly windier and slightly more protected from hurricanes, is what I have been led to understand. So, those are your countries and capitals of North America. We also have places like Bermuda, which are still connected to the United Kingdom. Okay. We even have some strange places like St. Pierre and Miquelon, which still belong to France. But those are the countries and capitals of North America. I hope you enjoyed this tour of North America. Till next time. Bye bye.